What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about a pretty gigantic rumor, talking about Marvel's Wolverine and talking about Venom. I was just kind of sitting here, your average Sunday, and then all of a sudden, this report from NP First came out, and it fills a video slot for the day pretty easily, does it not? So, look, we've all been thinking it. I've said it out loud even a couple times, trying to will it into existence. Like, look, if they are really going to have a Wolverine trailer at a State of Play in a week or two, right? I mean, what we've all kind of said is if you're willing to do that, the way that PlayStation's strategy has been the last little while, is it means the game probably comes out next year. So, this could mean kind of nothing, or it could just be kind of a carryover from that thought. But, I mean, MP First is very, very good. They get a lot of things right. Very happy to see it come from them. That way you don't really have this 50-50 debate. They're pretty freaking reliable. Now, in the report, they do say there's a part of this rumor that is maybe a little bit unreliable because they can't, kind of back up the info that they're getting. But the other parts they feel good about, and that part I feel very good about. So they say someone familiar with the situation has confirmed to us that Wolverine will stick to the 2026 scheduled release seen in the leaks, and that the Venom project remains in development. Additionally, we have managed to gather some extra details about Venom based on information we've come across. The most important info we received from our main source is that Wolverine is still on track for 2026 and Venom has been in development. While we haven't been able to determine how advanced the Venom project is, if we assume Wolverine remains the priority, it's likely that the game is still in pre-production. There are also details from the story that we got from a different source, but we couldn't verify these. We recommend you take these with a grain of salt. One of these would be that Eddie Brock would be the protagonist's role. This might seem obvious to some, given what happened to the last user of the symbiote in Spider-Man 2. Still, it helps us rule out the possibility of other symbiote users taking the lead, such as Flash Thompson, who was Agent Venom in the comics, or even an original character. We also know that, at least visually, that Eddie Brock will be closer to his comic book counterpart, more so than his live-action rendition played by Tom Hardy in the Venom films. When it comes to characters, the Venom game would also see Cletus Cassidy as Carnage, who was previously leaked as the main villain of the game based on an Eternal slideshows from The Breach. Additionally, Anti-Venom would be featured, but not the version controlled by Peter Parker. Instead, we would see the more monstrous-looking version from the comics that Eddie Brock eventually uses. As with Peter and his struggle with Venom, Eddie can maintain total control over his persona with Anti-Venom, so this could play a significant role in the story. And they also say, we've also come across some clues to suggest that Insomniac is currently working to include Spider-Man 2099 in one of their projects. They don't know if it's Venom. It could be more likely to be in Spider-Man 3 because of the whole canceled DLC thing. So there you go. It is kind of funny that we get more from Venom than we get from Wolverine, but at the same time, you kind of just think logically, like, Wolverine was leaked, and if a lot of the stuff from the leaks have not been changed, is there going to be that much to really talk about with it? I'm sure there will, and I'm going to try my darnest, because I actually didn't see many of the leaks, like visually, and what is happening in story and character type things. I didn't see a lot of that, and I try to do that purposely, but, people generally, or some people, know that stuff for Wolverine, right? You really don't know much or anything about that Venom game. So, I mean, just really quickly, again, the Wolverine stuff, awesome, is kind of just like the cherry on top, again, to what we've been talking about, where, again, like I said, with PlayStation strategy, if you're going to show the trailer, the worst thing to do would be to show the trailer to have the game released 2-3 years from now, right? Because I don't want a desperation trailer being shown. And I know maybe sometimes, especially maybe other people, more specifically, when people talk about and they say, just give me a trailer. And, granted, I say that as well. But, when I'm saying it, I'm saying it in the sense that I don't want you to give me a trailer until the game is good and ready to come out, right? Like within the next year. I would actually turn down a trailer if you said, okay, well, I'll give you a Wolverine trailer, Alex, but the game doesn't come out till 2027. Would you take that? I'd actually say no. And I've said that before in other videos, but I'll say it again here. I'd actually say no to that because I want the trailer, but more than that, I want the game to be done. And because of the development cycle, right, I just want it to be finished. And so, the trailer kind of goes hand in hand with that. So that's that part. The Venom thing, I mean, look, we could talk about what specifically they say. I mean, look, it sounds cool. Sounds very cool. Eddie Brock, all that jazz. Don't have too much to say about it, especially because Well, one thing I will say, they talk about visually Eddie Brock looks like the comic, so I think that's why they're pretty confident in that, is because they saw it. Whoever this source is that told them this info gave them an Eddie Brock picture to say, hey, just so you know, I'm legit. I'm going to assume that, but I don't think they would have said it like that, because they said, well, at least we can say visually he looks like the comic. Well, how would you know that if you didn't actually see what a render in the game looks like, right? So that's a good sign, because not even just like, okay, well, he looks like the comic adaptation. That's one thing, and that might be important to some. Cool. But what's more important is like, well, they actually saw it, which means that the game is in the works, which is kind of where I want it to go. More than anything, more than hearing villains or anti-Venom or, anything else, more than hearing the kind of specifics that don't matter too much, I think, until it gets a little bit closer. The most important part is that the game is still happening, because I think my prediction, maybe even earlier this year, was that I feel like that game might have been canceled. I see a lot of people saying maybe this is the Miles game for this next jump in generations. If you could do Wolverine in 2026 and then you have Venom come out late 2027, if that is, that's been the rumor for, I've seen some people say it's not going to happen, but the general rumor is that fall of 27 is the jump, is the next generation of consoles. So if that happens and you need a game, there's the game, right? There's Venom, and that's exactly, you go back to 2020, Miles was that game for PS5, Venom would be that game for PS6. So it does line up, like 100% definitely makes sense, and just hearing that it's still happening, I think is a pretty cool thing. So we'll see. Again, it's kind of cool that you get almost more Venom stuff than you get Wolverine, but it kind of satisfies, the leak satisfies both of those games. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.